Dementia Researcher with a blog and a rating.
Today, I will tell you tips I've learned for overcoming public speaking, which was once my greatest enemy in life. If public speaking currently makes you want to disappear into the floor, this one's for you. If you told me a few years ago that I'd be giving talks to full audiences, chairing sessions at international conferences, or organising large-scale dementia-related events, I would have laughed, then probably panicked. This is because, for a long time, public speaking was something I feared most. Not data analysis, not academic scrutiny, but public speaking. That moment before you begin, standing at the front of the room, suddenly hyper-aware of your hands, your stance, your voice, and your breathing. This is the moment when your brain decides now is the perfect time to forget every single word you've ever known. I know that feeling too well. Now, public speaking has become a huge part of my life. I've given research talks to neuroscience-heavy audiences, and I've spoken at public-facing events. I've chaired sessions at major international conferences in Toronto and Washington, and being a global ambassador for the Alzheimer's Association has also pushed me to become a much better speaker across very different settings and audiences. Somewhere between all of that, public speaking became something I genuinely enjoyed. Not because the nerves disappeared, they didn't, but because I learned how to deal with them. Here are some tips I've learnt along the way. First, nobody starts good at public speaking. Some people are naturally more comfortable being seen and heard. However, strong public speaking is a trainable skill. The biggest shift for me was realising that good speakers are rarely naturals. They are usually just well practiced. They've learned how to structure a talk, how to read a room, how to pause, how to recover, and how to sound confident even when they don't entirely feel it. That's not talent, it's just practice and experience. Second, be creative. Most talks are forgettable. This is the easiest way to make your talk better and what most people overlook. A lot of academic talks blur into one. This is not because the science is bad, but because they are delivered in such a familiar and similar way that very little stands out. People do not just remember what was said, they remember how it was said. They remember the talks that feel engaging, clear, and enjoyable to follow. Most people focus entirely on what they need to say and not enough on how they are saying it. But delivery is very important. A good talk is not just good content, it is good communication, and that means thinking beyond simply explaining what you did. Focus on what makes this work interesting. Make the audience feel like they are being guided through a story, and not talked at for 15 minutes. It is knowing what to emphasize, what to leave out, and how to make something complex feel engaging without losing the science. People are far more likely to remember your work if they enjoy listening to you explain it. Your audience should immediately understand why they should listen. The first minute matters more than people realize. People decide very quickly whether they are paying attention, so give them a reason to care. Thirdly, don't just show tables and graphs. Don't get me wrong, I love a good graph, as all scientists do. However, so many talks are just data thrown at people in different formats. A graph is not automatically a good slide. A table is not automatically useful. Slides should support what you're saying. If the audience must choose between listening to you and decoding your figure, they will lose concentration on both. Use fewer panels and highlight the one data point that matters. Build your figure so the audience knows exactly where to look, and if a graph needs 2 minutes of explanation just to understand the axes, it probably needs redesigning for that talk. If a table has several numbers with different stats and a plethora of p-values, the audience won't read them. A good slide makes you point faster, and a bad slide makes the audience tired. My fourth point is less writing. If your slide is a long paragraph of text, no one is listening to you, as they are just too busy reading. A slide should not be your script, as it should only be a prompt. Think about the following: one message per slide, short phrases, no sentences, and clean visuals. When you're not reading walls of text, you sound more natural, more conversational, and more in control. My fifth point: speak with confidence. And I'm still working on this one myself. One of the easiest habits to underestimate is simply speaking loudly and clearly. If people can hear you properly, they are much more likely to stay with you. It is the small things that help, such as having a good stance, taking a breath before you start, speaking into the microphone properly, and not rushing your sentences. These are small tips that make you sound more settled. I still get very nervous before speaking, but I have learned that sounding more confident helps you feel more confident. The sixth point is not talking too slowly and to talk with energy. People often get told to slow down. Although this is useful advice for some people who naturally speed up when they are nervous, the goal is not to slow down, but is to sound clearer. It is important to speak with energy and with variation. It is good to change the pace and change the tone. Let the important points land better. A flat, overly careful delivery can make even brilliant work sound lifeless. Energy is contagious. If you sound more engaged, the audience is far more likely to be engaged too. And the seventh point is practice, practice, and more practice. It is important to practice your talk out loud and not just in your head. This is where you catch awkward phrasing and strange pacing. Practicing aloud also makes the real talk feel familiar, and familiarity is one of the best antidotes to panic and nervousness. Remember, audiences don't need perfection. There is no pressure to deliver the most technically immaculate talk of all time. And finally, keep the talk simple and aim to be clear and useful with your words and slides. That's what people actually remember. If public speaking makes you nervous, that only means you care. The trick is not to eliminate the nerves, it's just to not let them take over.
Thank you for listening. Join the Dementia Research bloggers and share your own views.